Joining us from Oakland, California is Dr. Emily Skarbek, Assistant Professor of Economics at San Jose State University and Director of the Center on Entrepreneurial Innovation. Welcome, Emily.
Thanks for having me, Alan.
All right, now you are also the Director of the Government Cost Calculator at mygovcost.org. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what's behind the cost calculator?
All right, so we decided to build this government cost calculator so that we could show individuals what a personalized estimate of their federal tax liability really looks like. And so we designed this calculator to help people understand federal spending in two ways. Primarily to understand what it is that all of these federal spending programs are costing them, and then to also highlight the more unique aspect of what the value of those dollars would be worth if they could save and invest them for the future.
All right, so I tried this out and it was scary. I needed motion sickness medication after looking at it. But if we type in, say an average user might be a college-educated office manager. Let's say that's $40,000 per year. So here's what happens when you enter the information on your website. Why don't you tell us what would this mean here in terms of the information that this user would be seeing?
Well, I can't actually make out the numbers on your graphs, but what we see when people come and use the calculator, they just put in their age, income, and their education level. And what becomes strikingly obvious to people who come and see the site is the sheer magnitude of what these federal spending programs are costing them, but more importantly, what the value of those dollars would otherwise be worth if they could save them in the future. And the reason why that's important is because when you hear on the news that the federal debt is skyrocketing to $14 trillion, those numbers are very hard for individuals to personalize. But those aren't even the full cost of these government spending programs because they neglect the unseen side of the federal spending. What I mean by that is government, in essence, when they're providing these goods and services that are readily provided by the market, they provide them less efficiently than the market does. And so the value that those dollars would otherwise be worth if they were saved and invested in the future captures some of this inefficiency of government spending. So it's a very unique and important tool for people to wrap their head around these numbers that Washington tosses out every day.
Yeah, because many believe that Obama's spending, you know, the whole thing, it gets dull in people's minds, I'm sure, that Obama's spending is like a linear projection of the previous administration under Bush, their spending. But what's been happening since 2008 is actually of an enormously different magnitude. Is there a way that you can make that difference clear to the average person? Well,
clearly the debt has increased 43% in the last 2 years alone. And where all of this spending increases are coming from are particularly in the unfunded liabilities of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. And so those three programs alone make up over half of our federal spending. If you include defense spending, that comes out to almost 75% of the federal budget. Now, what I mean by saying that these are unfunded liabilities, the spending is increasing at a rapid rate, and one that is not expected to be closed by tax base or tax finance over the future. And so if we don't structurally change some of these unsustainable imbalances in these programs, we're going to run into some serious problems, perhaps much worse than what we've seen in Greece and Ireland.
Now, taking a look a little bit more closely at the personalized results, when someone types in their, as you say, their age, education level, and salary, they see three sort of bar graphs there. Why don't you tell us just a bit more specifically about those three numbers that we're looking at, namely your share of the federal debt, the future, estimated, and then what that money would have gotten you otherwise.
Absolutely. So the center bar graph just shows what your future liability is projected to be given the current tax policy, given the current spending. If you look at the red bar to the left, you'll see that includes your payments on the federal debt. And that is just given the state of the federal debt now. And it doesn't incorporate new changes into spending into the future. And so if our spending projections continue to go up, we would expect that liability also to continue to increase. And then finally, the third bar on the right, that's the value of what your dollars could otherwise earn you in a savings account or just a very conservative rate of return in the stock market. And so if you can pan out from that for just a second, you can see that you can take your total federal tax liability and break it down by spending areas. So you can find out specifically how much Social Security spending is costing you, and find out how much you could earn if you could choose to save those dollars instead and spend them as you wish on your own personal retirement in the future.
All right, very useful and a little bit nauseating as well, but it's a good kind of nauseating. It's the, it's the one that, education-based nauseation. Emily, thanks for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, that's Dr. Emily Skarbek of the Center for Entrepreneurial Innovation. There's lots more fun buttons to push at the center website. Really, take a look at it, mygovcost.org.